All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome out to how to write your own ticket and set your own hours and travel the world. And we're really excited about this tonight, and it's one of our first chances to actually share this information and be able to bring this to people tonight. So welcome out. Let us know in the comments below whether you're here, whether you like what you see, when you see it. Okay, we're just getting started. So Chris Rushlow, founder of the Epic Life, Digital Nomads, and also here with my partner.
Irina, author of The Intention Element.
And we're ready to show you some of this cool stuff. We're gonna have some cool training for you tonight, some cool stuff. Stick around to the end. Lots of cool stuff, and we'll even have an offer for you, but it's no obligation for that offer, but we're just gonna give you some cool training. We're gonna actually teach you that real cool trick about how to deal with your awareness and be able to shift your mindsets. What we talked about, that's going to happen, as well as the 3 phases of your online business and the authentic patterns and all of that stuff. Step-by-step stuff is coming as well. So looking forward to this tonight. We're going to have some fun. Let us know in the chat what you had said before, even when you sent me emails, which was, what are you really looking to learn? What are you looking to get out of this? And ultimately, what you really want to know here, and where do you want to go? So this is meant to be a dialogue tonight. Don't feel shy about speaking up, and we will make sure to interact and see how we can help you and serve the best. This is going to be a free-floating format. We know we have quite a bit to cover in this amount of time. We're intending to do about 90 minutes. In case it goes a little further because of your questions, then that would be why we'd go over 90 minutes. But it is going to be free-floating based on your responses so that we can cater this and custom tailor this to you. So anything else?
This is your chance to ask questions and get the answer. So whatever you guys are interested in, whatever you want to know, ask away, and we'll make sure to cover it. And whether it's going to be a presentation or Q&A after that, just let us know.
Perfect.
So take it away.
All right. Okay, cool. So I'm going to look in the comments here and check in the chat if we have anyone letting us know they're there. And we'll wait for some comments. Let us know if you can actually hear us. That would be a great thing to do. We got a few people out, and glad you're here tonight. So let us know if you can hear us in the chat. And we've got a few people jumping on late. It's looking like we have some technical issues getting started on time, and so hopefully we will get rolling here. So I'm just going to jump right into this and start rolling, and let me start to tell you a little bit about why you're here and why you may be here, why you opted in, why you showed up, okay? So ultimately, maybe you want to generate extra income in your spare time, start a new career and replace your income, or travel and work where you want, when you want, which is always nice. We've been able to do that. And also, maybe it's just get paid what you're worth, And ultimately, if you might just be sick and tired of your circumstances and what you've done so far, and may just be like, what, I want something new. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And then, you may just be in a place where you need a new start. You need a new way of life. You need another way of life. And you may be looking for something that really fulfills you, something you resonate with, something that you can wake up every day and go, this is what I really want to do. So let us know in the comments if you can see the screen as well. I'm going to make sure to keep my eyes on it as well. So I'll be looking back a lot because I'm checking the comments here too. So actually, you know what? I'm going to take those comments off and let you do that because that's going to distract the heck out of me. I'm going to duplicate the displays on this then and see what we got. Let's do this. 1 second, guys. Technical stuff as always. We're up in Alaska right now, visiting family and spending the majority of the summer, actually. This is part of our traveling for the summer. And one of the reasons we came up here is obviously, the summers in Alaska are just freaking beautiful. And hey, Ashley, good to see you. Happy you're here too. And one of the things that we want to be able to do up here is the crazy thing is the midnight sun, right? And so for those of you who don't know, up here in Fairbanks, Alaska, it literally doesn't get dark this time of year. It'll be what photographers call the golden hour for pretty much like 6 hours, because the sun goes around the sky, just dips behind the mountains for a short time, and then pops back up again. And it never really gets dark. It's just a sunset for hours. And on some beautiful nights, when the clouds are out and it's making that sunset, the whole sky can turn pink and red. Amazing, amazing, amazing sunsets. So give me just one more sec here, and I am making sure to, there we go, display settings. Let's duplicate. Okay. And keep. And there we go. All right, awesome. So now I've got in front of me what we need. And so we found out now, you may have asked yourself, you know, why you're here. And so we've narrowed it down to pretty much these 6 things. And these are just, you know, important things to know where you're coming from, because as you think about that, we're going to use this to display to you and illustrate the actual brain shifting mechanism that I talked about, that you guys are going to learn tonight. We're actually going to jump into first. We're going to get into that here in a moment. But just to let you know, how are we going to do that? It's real simple. It's by learning to what it takes to be a digital nomad, okay? It's about finding the best offers you can earn money from, okay? We'll talk about that. And learning this awareness discovery technique that I talked about in my ads, that you might have heard about in my story, you might have heard about in Irina's story, you might have heard about in the videos we've done and different stuff you've seen. So we're going to actually walk you through how to do that tonight so that you can take this particular method and go apply it in your life to whatever you're doing, okay? And that's going to be our free gift to you tonight, okay? So what are we going to cover? Obviously, 3 phases of online business, the authentic outcome pattern, all right? And that's really cool. And then obviously, we're going to show you how to get access to a step-by-step process of how to create an online funnel. We're going to walk you through the basics of that as well, okay? So it's that simple. But first off, I want to congratulate all of you, because you've taken the first step. And most people never even begin, and they never even begin simply because of these things. Oftentimes, the biggest things I've heard about people that say they want to do what we're doing, they say, oh, Chris, you know, I'd love to do that, but I don't have any technical knowledge. I don't know how to build a website. I don't know any coding. I don't know any programming. I wouldn't know where to start. I don't know where to begin, and I don't know how to do any of this technical stuff. So what would I even do? And you know, that's the biggest one. And the cool thing is, we can just talk about that for a moment and help you realize that the online game has changed and evolved. The platforms that are now available for you to just be able to log right in, not do any technical coding, not know any HTML or PHP or CSS or any or WTF, any of that, right? All you need is to be able to fill in blanks in fields and drag and drop. That's pretty much what it comes down to these days, okay? So the real skill doesn't come in the technical, it comes in being able to know how to market. We're gonna talk more about that tonight. So the next thing is, people go, well, I wanna make money online. I wanna be able to travel and work from my laptop in a mobile office, but I don't know what I can sell. What can I make money from? We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. We've got some access stuff for you tonight as well, that you'll be able to know how to find that stuff, and we're gonna be able to give you a few chances for that as well, okay? And the next one is, a lot of people are like, well, I'd love to sell stuff, but I'm not a salesman. I don't wanna come across and be that guy or that girl and be salesy, right? So, you know, the biggest ones are no technical knowledge, not knowing what to sell, and not knowing how to sell without being salesy. It's some of the biggest myths that I find, because the reality is, being salesy is just, you don't need to anymore. We have had an evolution of marketing and online marketing, the fundamental way that we communicate has changed over the past 10 years with social media, and even selling now is more conversational on social media, okay? And so we'll talk a little bit about that and why the average person actually does better than your traditional, typical, direct response marketers that used to write, you know, sales letters. You get those big sales letters in the mail that were like, 15 pages, and you read the whole thing just to buy something. Remember those? Well, they used to start doing that online for a while, but they still do that. But the good news is how you play into this, you don't have to learn that, okay? Unless you really want to get complicated, which there's no need to. I don't even know how to do that stuff. And me, myself, personally, I've generated multiple six figures in this industry over the last 3 to 4 years. And in the span of 27 months, did over $300,000 in my income streams, and even did, some events where we'll talk a little bit about that. But just want you to know where we're coming from here. I've seen this, I've heard it all, and you're gonna love this tonight. So stay with us, okay? So most people look for excuses. And obviously you haven't, because you're here, but most people have always said, like I said before, if only I had a website. They're like, if I had a website, awesome, right? And some of them are like a big easy button that does it all for me. And I'm being tongue-in-cheek about that one, because simply it really comes down to, some people are like, I want to outsource everything. I want to pay people to make my website. I want to pay people to make my sales funnels. I want to pay people to write stuff for me, create content, sell it for me. I just have money coming in, but I'll pay them to do all that. And the issue with that is that, you have to know what you're doing in order to give those tasks to others. You got to know your own business. You got to know how that works so you can do a quality check. I have a friend, his name is Roy, and he literally blew over $250,000 outsourcing every aspect of his business to people. He had them create websites, do blog posts, write articles, make videos, do all the technical, and they just kept on charging him and doing all this stuff. And guess what? After $250,000, which is nuts, right? I mean, that's just out of this world. You don't even, not even near starting for anywhere near that, right? And he had nothing to show for it. Don't be like Roy, right? Don't be like Roy. You got to know and mind your business, and that is what we're going to talk more about later tonight, okay? So, and then some people say something to actually sell of my own. Because first they're like, I don't have anything to sell. And you're like, all right, well, here's how you sell. And they're like, well, what about something of my own? Well, why don't you sell this instead? Well, I want to have something to sell of my own. And that's great. That's good. But that's not the first step. You learn by selling other stuff first. And then you'll acquire the knowledge and skills to sell something of your own, unless you have a specialized skill that you can teach right away. And in that case, then we can work with you and help you develop that and put that to play with all of the other tactics and strategies and tools that you need. So I know there's some of you on the workshop tonight who emailed me and let me know that that was the case as well. And so we'll talk about some of that, okay? If you were the type of person who wants to take your skill set and turn it into a book, turn it into a seminar, turn it into an information product, a teaching product, where you're on video teaching like this or something like that, okay? So lots of different ways you can do this, but if you are, here's really the good news. If you are brand new and you don't have any experience in any of this, and some of this you're still like, what's a funnel? That's okay, we're here for you. And if you're the type of person that has seen a lot of stuff online and have kind of like understand the concepts and they're like, I'd love to have one of those. I'd love to be able to do what I just saw online. I kind of get, the concept of what happens next and what happens next. And I just want to put it all together and do it. Great, because we're going to take you a step further and clarify all of that for you tonight. Okay, so you'll love this. Like I said, stay with me. Okay, so out of all that, when we got started, we didn't have all these things, right? Unlike most people, Irene and I both, we wanted to do something more than just simply work jobs and think that we could get by and be happy doing that, right? And instead of saying, here's why I can't do that, because I don't have a site, I don't have this skill, I don't have this skill or this thing to sell, we asked ourselves a different question. And this is a little bit of a hint on how to shift your mindset, is we asked ourselves instead, let me find out if it's possible to do this. Let me see if I can learn to do it, right? Instead of being so scared and thinking that it's so complicated. that you will never be able to learn it. And then coming to find out, it was a lot simpler when I just got into it and got my hands dirty and said, oh, I can do this, I can handle this. This isn't technical, this is just making sure that we're making the right stuff work together. Just like you log into Facebook or log into your email and have multiple tabs open, it's the same thing we do. So we each were like, all right, well, can we create web pages without knowing code? And we found out that there's services and tools made for people like us that you can plug right into, and you don't have to create pages from coding yourself. You never have to know that. I still to this day don't know HTML. And people go, well, what about learn the online marketing process? We're going to talk about that tonight and show you some of that. And then finding if products out there I can sell. There is never a shortage of products to sell. It's just what you want to sell, what you resonate with, and what's the best offer based on who you want to serve and who you want to message, okay? So moving along. So real quick, so you guys know, here's what happened to me, right? I mean, I started this thing, how I found internet marketing. I was a real estate agent, and I was so burned out. I'd done it for 5 or 6 years, and I had done nothing but work day and night, and I was making really good money, right? I was really motivated and kept on working, and I was in my early 20s when I started. I had a lot of energy, I was single, and I just worked all the time. Well, what happened is I got into my later 20s, and I started to really burn out, and I started to feel really sick all the time, and you know, the systems in my body were shutting down. I burned out my adrenal glands running on coffee all the time rather than running on you know, food and minerals and everything, right, and nutrition, because I wouldn't stop to eat. I just grabbed more coffee and keep going. And so for me, I really needed to change, and I had a buddy who hit me up and said, watch this webinar of what I did. I just figured out a way how to get a bunch of traffic, and I literally just made, and this is a little crazy, okay, he literally made $12,000 in one night. He came over to my house, pulled up his laptop, logged in, and showed me the money being made on the spot coming in. And he refreshed the screen and it was 12,000. Refresh the screen again, it was 12,500. Refresh the screen again, it was 13,500. I'm going, where is this coming from? He goes, watch this webinar that I just did, and you'll see what I did. And so I did, and I was mesmerized. And that was the day I got introduced to blogging, article marketing, search engine optimization, which people think that's technical stuff, and not really. But I still, you know, like I said, to this day, didn't have any HTML coding knowledge at all. I don't, and you don't need it. But that's how I got my start, right? And so from there, I started selling training products and information products and learning how to, you know, blog and create articles about stuff. And then people would find them and opt in and buy stuff. Now, I didn't do too well at that. It took me a while. I wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. And I finally stumbled upon what really worked for me, which, as you can see on the screen, I started Facebook marketing. And within a span of 27 months, I generated over 300K personally for myself. And I learned that there was a different message in a different way that I liked a lot better, because I felt totally authentic and real about being able to just share my message and talk and speak on social media and on Facebook, telling stories, doing all kinds of cool stuff. And I could do it naturally and just place ads and boost posts. And then I got more into the nitty-gritty of designing ads and ended up doing very well, selling information products, selling training products a lot of the time. And it worked out for me really, really well, okay? And from that, I had created an amazing life. I moved to Summit County, Colorado, in the mountains, surrounded by all the, you know, most beautiful ski resorts in the world. And from there, I was able to enjoy the powder days anytime I wanted to, because I had a lot of free time. I was making 5 figures a month, you know, every month. And that was because I built a lot of these automated systems and set them up, and they were just running for me. So, you know, the maintenance was an hour or 2 a day. And so most days I'd get up and go hiking in the summertime, or I'd go snowboarding in the wintertime. Absolutely loved it, right? And last winter we got the chance to spend the winter in Vail and do that. We drove, basically moved like 30 minutes away to a place in Vail, and we're able to ski there because Vail was my favorite place to snowboard, still is. And so now we're up here in Alaska for the summer and plan on going back to Colorado and doing some time in Hawaii as well this winter, just because we can, right? And so that was essentially my story. But here's what really went down for me as to what happened, right? Some of you read my book, and some of you read my story on my Facebook page, right? And so you saw that I had this experience, and I'm not going to repeat it now, but I'll let you know that the reason I was able to have that experience is because I was walked through a series of processes, which very similar to what I'm going to walk you through tonight, that helped me realize what I did. And then that allowed me to start getting out of my own way and implementing the stuff that I'm also going to teach you and talk about tonight, okay? And so that whole process was very important. And what I discovered from that and what I learned was that there was these 3 awareness types, and I'm going to get into those in a moment. Stay with me. I discovered these, and I realized that anytime when I was operating within one of them, I was short-circuiting myself, and I never saw any results. And when I got in another one, I was able to create some results, but I wasn't happy, and I was miserable doing it. But then when I got into the best one, third one, what I realized is that's where everything became easy and things became, like, just went into a flow, right? So that's essentially what happened to me and what I'm bringing to you tonight. So real quickly before I go any further, I just want to check and see, is there any comments or anything?
Really shy audience.
We have a shy audience. That's okay. It's first time. You guys will get used to me. You'll get used to this face. Promise you. It's easy to get used to her pretty face, and she'll be up here in a minute talking about stuff and her own personal journey as well. So here's what I want to do for you guys. Before we go any further, I just want to give you a quick disclaimer, okay? We cannot legally guarantee anything. Hopefully you can read that. Let me know if you can see that. The income claims made in this presentation, this is the legal part, right? I have legally bound by law to give this to you, okay? And we are not intended as a guarantee of income. Instead, they're designed to give you an idea of what's possible. All business ventures inherently carry a degree of risk. You should do your due diligence to ensure this is right for you. So think about this. There is a certain state of mind you're in when you are employed and you have a career and you have a job. Oftentimes, you give up a little bit of the good stuff for the security that that job gives, and matching 401k, the retirement benefits, all that cool stuff. And when you're an entrepreneur, the risk is on you. If you're your own boss, you're the one that's providing all of that, right? And so it's more risk. So if you lose out, you have nothing. And so that's the drawback of it. And now I actually had a few emails come in from people who said, I want to be able to have a way to do this guaranteed. And I want to stress right here at this moment that the thing is, what I can't guarantee is how hard you're going to work and what you're going to do and what you are going to apply. What I do know and what's true for me is that the way that we figured out, the way that we're going to show you tonight, worked for us. But I don't know if you're willing to wake up every day, even if you have a full-time job, and put in those 2 to 3 extra hours every day learning your business and putting it together and doing stuff like that. So I can't guarantee that you'll make any income, but we will, like I said, once again, we'll show you what worked for us, okay? So does that sound fair? I want you guys to speak up in the comments and just let us know if that's fair. I'm not here to give you guys any hype or overblown promises. Believe me, I've been in an industry and a niche and played in some niches where it's nothing but hype, and I'm so burned out from it, and it turns me off, and so I'm not hyping, okay? I'm a straight shooter. I'm direct about what's going on, so that's why I'm here with you right now, directly telling you about the disclaimer, about what is possible for you, but know that it's in your hands, okay? And so we'll give you what we can, but ultimately, you've got to run with it. We'll run with you if you choose, but ultimately, the responsibility still is on your shoulders, okay? So moving right along, how you can easily discover your dominant awareness. So ask yourself these questions. Now, here's what I want you to stop, okay? Get a piece of paper if you don't already have one, because this is important. If you don't get this, you'll lose out on the whole thing, all right? So get a piece of paper, and I want you to write these down, and I'm gonna walk you through them, okay? So ask yourself these questions. Why do you want something different? Just ask yourself why. For me, it was because I was burned out and I could not keep up with the pace of my life anymore as a real estate agent, and I needed to change it. I needed a change of pace, and I needed to do something that didn't require so much energy and effort And I wanted to start leveraging myself because I realized the moment I made a sale and got a commission, I had to start all over again to go sell another house. And for me, that wore on me. And just like every other real estate agent told me, this will consume you if you let it. And sure enough, I did. And so for me, my why was I wanted to do something every day that charged me and energized me, didn't drain me, right? And have the freedom of being able to do what I want. And so for me, that's why I wanted something different. So for you, it may be that, you may want to get out of your job because it's not fulfilling you, or maybe that you don't really feel like you're really tapped into your true purpose or your true calling yet, or it may be that you feel like you're not getting paid what you're worth, right? Or you feel like you can create more. There's more to you. There's got to be more than something, than what there is. There's got to be more to life than this, right? So whatever it is, write it down for you and make it personal to you specifically. So I'll give you a moment to just internalize that, okay? So then the next one is, how will you know that that different thing has shown up? How would your life look different? And I want you to talk about it. I want you to say, if I had this different, career where I was working from my laptop, doing it how I wanted to, what would I be doing? And how would my life be different? Would I be living in the same place? Would I be driving the same car? Would I be having the same schedule? Would I be with my family more? Would I be taking time for myself more? What would it look like? Okay, so how will you know when it has shown up for you? And be specific. Didn't I? Can you grab it? Please.
Yeah, please.
Yes. They're in the front pocket. So then the third one is, what will be different for you when you get it? Now, it's a similar question to how will you know it has shown up, but not so much how will you know when it shows up, but what will be different for you? Talk about the differences between what your current situation is and what you want it to be, right? And what will be different? How will it be different? So how will you know to show up, and then what will be different specifically, okay? So if you feel like you already answered it, then that's okay. But if you feel like you have another answer come up for that, then go ahead and roll with it and write that down, all right? I'm gonna check the comments here. All right, so now that you have these things written down, I want to show you what I found out, okay? It came down to understanding these different awarenesses, okay? And this is the pattern I ran through. I noticed that when I was in the concerned state, all right, and there's a large segment, a majority of the segment of the population operate dominantly from this one, which is concerned. Hopefully you can see this on the screen. It's focused on what they don't want, okay? About 60% of first world countries really operate this way, and some of them are even 70%, right? And they're focused on what they don't want, which is different than the competitive mindset, which is focused on what they do want. And some of you are like, well, that's the same thing. Actually, it's not. It may be two sides of the same coin, but which side's up, heads up or tails, right? And so focus on what they do want, and that's about 1 out of 4 people in first world countries that we've noticed operate dominantly from a competitive state. And they're the ones that are focused on, the trappings of success versus the people in concern who are moving away from what they don't want, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean they're focused on what they do want, but they're essentially in a negative state of focused on what they don't want and trying to get rid of it, right? Moving away from it. And so when you shift to competitive, it's like this enabling thing that finally you go, oh, let me not focus on what I don't want or try to run away from it, but run towards what I do want. Now, that's a big shift for some people, but we'll walk through what some of that is. But then I want to also show you the third one, which is the real shift that happened for me that night. And then I started living my life from this situational awareness, okay? And that is the co-creatives, okay? So being co-creative, I was focused on experiences, relating, and one of the other big ones that's not on this particular screen is creating. So rather than moving towards something, it's a subtle difference is I'm now creating it and attracting it to me, which is a different way of speaking, operating, thinking, and talking, and in everything that you do, you notice a difference. Because one of the things I found a long time ago, and a good friend, confirmed for me was, if you watch someone long enough, you know a lot, because how they do anything is how they do everything. How they do anything is how you do everything. And so keep that in mind, because when these points come up, you got to know and ask yourself, what is it that I'm focusing on right now? And am I focusing in a way that is concerned, competitive, or co-creative? Well, let's go through this and clarify this. So the main pattern of concerned mindset, always moving away from what they don't want, right? Okay? They're motivated by avoiding pain and fear of loss, which is what you typically hear on the news and in most mainstream media is, avoiding pain. Most advertisements and selling are all about avoiding pain and fear of loss, right? And it's difficult because it's like that reptilian part of the brain that has you like almost instinctually react, but it's not. We can actually go beyond that and learn to make ourselves happy by getting motivated by something different. So let me show you as we finish this up. What you'll find with these people is they're always speaking about what they don't want. They're the ones that are complaining, talking about they don't want their job, they don't want their life, they don't like this, they don't like that. They have to get up and go to work in the morning. Think about if you're around your friends, your 5 closest friends, think about the conversations that you have. And when you have those, are you talking about, oh, I don't want to go to work tomorrow? Or are you talking about, oh, I really don't want to, I don't want the weekend to even come because then I got to do a bunch of house chores and I don't get paid for working for that, right? I don't want to go mow the lawn, right? And so it's a way of speaking and acting that gets you stuck in a pattern. And that's what I've noticed. So the mentality here is anything is better than this, which is what means you're always open to something better, but you're not really willing to go for it, right? And so let me talk about something here we call the 47-day phenomenon. It's an important thing to understand. I have this phenomenon that I noticed and realized when I was building a huge community of internet marketers and we were teaching and training them and having them sell products. This was a couple of years ago, and we were bringing them in through a lot of personal development based marketing, right? And so a lot of the training was how to get your mind right. And we were teaching these concepts of concerned, competitive, and co-creatives, just not those words, but a lot of the same concepts, right? And I noticed that there were people, I'd get feedback from them, the ones that seemed to quit and stop on an average of about 47 days. Now, some of them were 45, some of them were 40, some of them were 55, some of them made it 2 months, okay? Some of them made it only a month. And what it averaged out to be was about 47 days, no more than 2 months, and they did about, normally the shortest was they gave it about a month. And they were learning their business, but what happened is they quit. And I started to look back at everybody who had quit, and I started to look at their chat logs and our correspondence and the emails and the back and forths, and I looked for certain patterns and saw what they were saying. And I noticed that the way they were speaking and acting was this concerned type. You see, you can only be motivated and frustrated in a negative state of mind and be motivated enough to do something about it for so long. But when you stay in a negative state of being concerned, what happens is you're continuing to run away from the pain and fear of loss. And so you're running and moving away from what you don't want, but it doesn't allow your brain to make the connections and start moving you towards what you do want, because you're too focused on moving away from what you don't want. So it keeps you in a negative state, and a state of creating more negativity and creating more lack and creating more of the frustration you have, which doesn't allow your brain to start problem solving. It's a scientifically proven fact when you hook somebody's head up to a brain scanner that when they're in a state of fear or frustration or anger, the brain disconnects the left and the right side and they stop communicating with each other almost completely, okay? And that means that you can't effectively problem solve or create a solution to something because you're too focused on getting away from the pain. So you won't have inspiration, you won't have energy because your brain's not firing on all cylinders and electrically sending all the signals to the rest of your body so that you do feel charged and energized and waking up every day to go for what you want. And when you're like that, it's only a matter of time before you get so drained and so messed up and disillusioned to where you can't continue anymore, and your body is literally screaming at you saying, we can't take this anymore, we have to stop, and you feel like you have no choice but to quit. Now, how many of you have I just spoke to? How many of you have had a situation in your life where you know that happened? We all do it. I'm not saying that I don't do it. I'm saying that this is something that happens naturally in humans, and I've gone back to this at times even recently and had to catch myself and go, wow, I'm going into that pattern again. I have to get out of that and get back into a better pattern, which I'm going to show you here in the next few slides, okay? So, but this is something to be aware of, because if you have tried doing something like this before, or tried taking a step out of your current career, your current situation, and you found yourself finally after about a month or two, you're like, you know what, maybe this just isn't the thing for me. I'm so frustrated, stressed, I can't handle it anymore. How about I'm just gonna hang this up, and when I get some more energy, you know, I'll put it on the back burner for now, and I'll go continue on the things I don't like, moving away from what I don't want again. See that? So this is a big thing that hangs people up. Can't nail this enough. So, but here's the thing. You're sitting at home right now. Some of you are like, wow, that's kind of rough, because that means that it really causes you to take responsibility for what has happened. And I'm not asking you to be honest with me. I'm just essentially asking you, can you be honest with yourself? Because I don't sit there and point the finger and judge and berate people, but I'll ask you if you're being honest with yourself. Because really, in the end, this is all about you. I'm here for you to do a workshop to help you do the work to get out of this, right? This is not some, here, let me hand you a magical ball. This is going to tell you everything you need, because then that would be a scam. Okay, and we're not here for that, all right? Clearly, you guys know that by now. So that's the 47-day phenomenon. That's what I've noticed. And you don't want to see that happen to you. So let's move on, and we'll show you what the competitive state of mind is. Checking in real quick. Any other comments? Anyone said anything? Okay, cool. The main pattern of competitive. So we flip it, right? Other side of the coin. Always moving towards what they do want. Now, these are the overachievers of the world. These are people that are working hard, working all the time, and this is something that I dominantly did in my real estate career a lot of the time too. I was always seeking rewards, pleasure, and recognition, right? It was all about, you know, selling as many houses as I can to get recognized, making a lot of money, being able to enjoy that money and the chances that I had, and the rewards that come from it. I had a nice vehicle, all that stuff, right? I was able to take care of my family and things like that, right? So that was, for me, important. And what was I talking about? If you had a conversation with me, I was always talking about the next goal. I want to get these many houses sold this month. I want to sell this much in business. These are my goals, my goals, my goals, right? Moving towards a goal, and oftentimes just for the sake of the goal, not really having a reason why. We're going to get into that. And possessions, right? Like accumulating nice clothes. And I wasn't really too much into fashion and style and nice watches and, you know, the finer things in life. But I made sure to have them so that I could keep up with the Joneses, so that in my profession, I was still being looked at as a professional. So it was one of those catch-22 things, right? So now I was doing something to please others rather than myself, funny enough, which is a part of what my story was. You guys understand that now if you've read my story. And the next part is I was always looking for the next challenge. Like I said, it was like the next challenge, the next goal, what's the next thing, but I was never really happy. I was never really happy with myself. So that, you can ask yourself, if you find yourself in this dominant state of being competitive, and you're like, when I get what I want, I'll be happy. When I get what I finally want, I'm going to be happy. I won't rest until I get it. It's never really going to come, because happiness is a state of being. And that's where we get into the co-creatives, where the state of being starts attracting and creating this stuff. And then you can put the right tools in motion that work automatically, okay? So the other thing about competitive is they're scarcity based. They want to win at everything. So what happens is it causes you to make decisions out of resource availability, because competitive, normally what we found is this mind state is about, it's like the survival instinct of let me gather as much as I can for the winter. Just like the body makes you more hungry than what you normally can eat every day or burn in calories, because it naturally wants to put on extra calories every day, because we've evolved as having feast and famine cycles, and there may be a time where winter comes and we don't have a lot to eat, and so we're eating off the fat stores of our body. So our body's set up that way. In our modern society, we normally don't starve like that, so a lot of people are overweight because they don't do something about it, right? Well, it's a scarcity-based thing. It's the same mechanisms in our brain that go, let me make sure that I reward myself so that I feel good temporarily in the moment by buying a nice watch, buying a nice pair of shoes, getting a new vehicle, or things like that, buying a round of drinks at the bar for everyone, right? And so it's like you will eventually start becoming so competitive that you're trying to win where you're getting someone else to lose. And what I found some people fall into in this trap, in this competitive mindset, is never happy, but they're also stepping on others because they think there's not enough to go around. They think they have to go and get what's really out there, rather than creating this limitless abundance that comes from a co-creative mindset, which we'll get into next, okay? So that, I put a last one down here. Fluffy unicorns, remind me when we're on some other call. I'll tell that story because I just told you my story of this particular example. The fluffy unicorn story is a good one, but we're gonna have to say that for next time because we need to stay on task here. I'm getting a look right now because someone bet me that I wouldn't tell that story.
So excited to hear the fluffy.
You wanted to see what's going on. So, all right, so the main pattern of co-creatives, right? Stay with me, because once we get past this and you guys are gonna be able to use this, then we're gonna get into the tactical and the strategic and get into online phases of your career and sales funnels and how all that works, okay? So, but let's finish this because this was the most important part. All that other stuff is easy to learn, but this stuff is crucial because you can't sabotage yourself, right? And I didn't get this for a long time, and I've gone back and forth and had to learn these lessons many times. It's one of those things we call next level devils, right? You go to another level and you deal with the same issue in another way, and you're like, okay, it's like the universe or God or whoever, higher power, whatever you want to call it, is saying, are you sure? Did you really learn this lesson? And so this is the same thing. We have to stalk our thoughts and make sure that we are not our thoughts, and our current fear is not market reality, okay? And we'll get more into those two concepts later, but let me plant that seed for now, okay? So the main pattern of co-creatives, these are the people that are co-creating and attracting, and in a state of mind that brings stuff to them rather than going and moving towards something, you have stuff moving towards you. Cool, right? So the main pattern, they're always creating and experiencing what they want. So what do I mean by that? Experiencing in terms of they experience it in their mind and feel it through their body, right? It's like the law of attraction that, that works and translates in so many ways. It's the law of cause and effect. It's the same thing, I think, right? From all of my spiritual research and study. And law of attraction, law of cause and effect is that you have to experience it, create it in your mind, a blank canvas in your mind. You get to draw it, paint it, and then you start materializing it over time over focused intent. Well, how do you keep a focused intent on something? Understanding the type of mind that you're in, making sure you stay in that co-creative state and not bouncing back into a concerned state or a competitive state where you start to disempower yourself, okay? So always creating and experiencing, or experiencing and creating, right? You're in that perpetual state of creation, and guess what? You're also perpetually happy. So let's move even further. These type of people, when they focus this way, which could be anybody at any moment, if they stay in this is the key, is staying in it, is seeking experiences, connection, and community. All right, connecting with others, like-minded people, is to validate and see that there's more people like us moving forward, and what can we create together? How can we be in a community where we all understand that we're helping to lift each other up, right? It's more community-based versus self-centeredness, which you actually see in the competitive states a lot more, right? Competitive is more like, hey, me, this is what I'm gonna do. but here it's like we, right? So you'll hear people, when you talk with people who are in co-creative states, or what like Esther Hicks likes to call the vortex, right? They speak their vision. They talk about how they're going to contribute, what they do to give back, how they're going to create something beyond themselves. And they create those goals and set those up. And the stuff right in front of them, which may be at one point an issue, like a financial issue, they don't worry about, because the energy to create or relate or experience something greater than that you're creating already requires that that financial stuff in front of you, a temporary thing, be handled. And so they don't allow it to get them caught up and bounce back into a concerned state of mind or a competitive mind to try to create more, because they're in a different state altogether. It's a game changer. It's a denominator change. It's not the numerator, it's the denominator. You're playing with a different set of rules, right? And this is like magical, okay? So this is what it feels like when you're really in it. And some of you know what I'm talking about. Then they want a community to co-create with. Now, you see the last thing there that says team be the change. I actually had, from my community, that was actually the name of my team. When I told the story earlier of the 47-day phenomenon and the people who were training and that were coming in and learning internet marketing, and we were having these calls and webinars and doing this stuff, we created a huge team, hundreds of people, and a lot of people having success who have since gone on and taken what I've taught and created multiple six-figure incomes from this, okay? Some of them have risen even beyond me and done amazing things in what they do. One of the people I mentored and taught, they literally had like a $47,000 a month a couple months ago. It's actually like February or something like that. So 4, 5, 6 months ago back. But that's just an example of what came out of that community. And in that community, I understood this concept of being a co-creative. And because of that, we created it, and I helped create the intention and the vision of it, and everyone subscribed into it. And we were all able to exponentially lift each other up. People were making a lot of money and having a lot of success. And so that, I knew and understood that concept, and we called it Team Be the Change, modeled after Team, be the change you want to see in the world, the famous quote by Mahatma Gandhi. So that was inspiring. And so when you can bring in others' visions and align the visions together, it's even more powerful. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's like when 2 or more are gathered, it's like exponential. If there's 3 people, then it's like 3 × 3 × 3, right? And so it just multiplies and exponentially multiplies. And that's the concept that happens when you get into a co-creative state, especially with others. Now, you can do it on your own and you'll still co-create, but even more when you find others, right? So that's what we've learned from this. So the other thing here is, now that you've taken this concept and you wrote down earlier, how would your life be different? How will you know when it's shown up? What would you do? Those questions that you got on the paper, ask yourself these questions now. Which awareness pattern do you dominantly in your career, do you dominantly move towards? Do you dominantly run in your career and life? I forgot a word in there if you can tell. Dominantly run in your career and life. So which pattern do you run? So ask yourself this. What are you getting from your current career? What comes up for you right away? What are you getting from it? Is it the security, job security, or is it the fun that it has to do every day? The people you're around? Is that why you go to work every day? Is it the contribution you're making? Or is it like, because if I don't get up and go to work tomorrow, I'll be out of a job and I'll be out of a house and a mortgage and kids and everything else, which is completely real, right? So think about that and ask yourself, that statement that you just said to yourself, whatever it is it concerned, competitive, or co-creative? Is it moving away from what you don't want? Like, I just have to get up, or if I don't, I lose my job, right? So you're getting up to go somewhere because you're moving away from moving away from unemployment, right? Moving away from losing everything, right? Being in debt. So, or are you, really loving it because it gives you all the trappings of success? Or is it giving you real fulfillment, where you're happy to go every day and you look forward to it? But you can see the differences between concerned, competitive, and co-creative right there. So now here's the next thing you want to ask yourself, and this will help clarify it. How do you speak about your career to others? Well, if you're standing around your friends again, and this is why we got you in that state before, to think about that when you were standing around your friends before. Now go back to that, now that you've had the chance to kind of work those years in your brain now, and what do you say to them normally? And what is it that they would respond back to you with? Which will be great feedback, where they're probably like, it sounds like you want a different job, or it sounds like you really like what you're doing, maybe, or it sounds like you don't want to go to work tomorrow, right? And so how does that show up? And what kind of a statement is that as a concerned, competitive, co-creative? Think about that for a moment. And then ultimately, what's your ultimate goal with your career? So what is your ultimate goal with your career, and why did you pick it? Why did you choose it? So ultimately, two things. Why did you pick your career? What seemed like a good idea at the time, or it was the safe thing to do? It was what your parents wanted you to do, or it's what your parents also do, or it was the job you could get at the time. Who knows, right? You kind of fell into it, right? And you just stuck with it because it was safe and it gave you the security you needed. Or was it, I think this is going to be awesome, I'm going to enjoy this, I'm going to love this, and you got into it and then you realize this isn't as cool as I thought it was. I'd be open to something else. It wasn't what I thought it was. Or it could be that you went into something for a specific purpose and you're doing it and feeling it and loving it and you just want to add more to it. All three are okay. And you can understand from the way I said that, I spoke, the first one was concerned, the second one was competitive, the third one was co-creative. So Lena, put your comments in there and tell me if you like this so far. We've got one of our coaches on, Lena, as well. So if you're watching, let us know if you like this, because she hasn't seen this before either. So I think you're loving this. So now, ultimately, when you ask yourself these questions and what you write down, I'm going to give you one more frame. I'm going to bring Irina up because she's going to explain something she discovered. And you're going to hear a little bit about her journey and about this concept of feelings versus emotions. And when I first heard that, I was like, well, what do you mean feelings versus emotions? Because we always hear the words being used interchangeably. And what we were told is that it's something in the Western world that is not, in our dictionaries, there's not a distinguishable pattern or difference between the two a lot of the time, yet in other parts of the world it is. And so you see it in different spiritual texts and explained in different ways. And so when she started to explain it to me, it's like it gave me a whole level of clarity to understand how somebody makes decisions and why you make a decision from one state or another, and when to know when it's a feeling or emotion and the differences. So I want to bring her up and let her tell you how she discovered this difference and her quick story about how she came to the States and how she became an entrepreneur herself as well. So.
Well, first let me, I guess, tell you a little bit about myself and how I came to be here today in front of you and sharing with you my story. And then I'll talk more about feelings and emotions, because it's, in a way, it's simple, but it's not. When I first heard it and when I first realized it, I was like, oh. And as you start thinking about it, it's kind of like, we'll get to that. So I grew up in Kazakhstan. It is a real country, and no, Borat is not my brother, but it definitely makes it easier to explain where Kazakhstan is. So I came to the States about 8 years ago, and unlike Chris, I didn't know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know that I wanted to be a marketer. It's not something that I, was dreaming about as a child, like, hey, I want to grow up and I want to be this person who's advertising stuff online. No, I didn't want to do any of that. One thing I knew, though, that I didn't want to be stuck in a cubicle. I didn't want to go to work 9 to 5, 7 days a week, and have like a 2-week vacation once a year. I didn't want that. I wanted to travel. I wanted to do photography, and I wanted to write. That was my thing. And I didn't know how I was gonna go into it, but I knew that's what I wanted. So when I got exposed to online marketing and entrepreneurship, in the beginning I was a little bit hesitant because in my country, in Kazakhstan, people who are entrepreneurs, they have a little bit of a bad reputation for scamming people and lying and stealing people's money, because that's kind of how people are back there. You know, people who have their own business, there's a chance that they didn't get that business in a legitimate way. So I didn't want to be anything like those people. I didn't want to do anything like that. So when I got exposed to online marketing, I was like, well, let me kind of feel it out. And here's the thing, when I started, I had I didn't have all the tools and all the information that we are sharing with you today. It was, for me, it was pretty much, I was like an ignorance on fire. I had the desire to do whatever it takes to be able to travel, because I knew nobody was going to just hand me a ticket to go travel around the world and finance all my expenses and pay for my hotel and all the fun. I knew I had to figure something out for that. But I didn't have the laid out plan to do that. I didn't know the step by step. I didn't know any of that, but I was willing to put in the work. And after a while, after a lot of mistakes and errors, a lot of trials, a lot of money kind of like thrown into the air because everyone was claiming to be, hey, try out this new thing. This is the best thing out there. Try this, try that. This is better than that. And I tried everything, and I still had no idea what is it that I'm supposed to be doing online. Actually, until I met Chris and he explained some of it to me, I was like, oh, it's actually that simple. This is how the steps lay out. And when I started to understand how it all works, I was able to, overall, I created a 6-figure income online just by few simple steps that we are going to share with you. And not only that, but I also realized that I have a message. Like, I believe that everyone has a message that we are here to share with people. And I found mine after realizing that I spent most of my life living the life of other people and doing the things that other people wanted me to do. And once I got honest with myself, just like Chris was talking about earlier, it's all about being honest with yourself. You owe it to yourself in the first place to do that. And once you are honest, you will realize, oh, well, this is what I'm doing that's bringing me happiness, and this is what I'm doing that's not bringing me happiness. And when you do that, the things will start to align and things will start to happen for you in order to create the life that you truly desire and to start creating the things that you truly want in your life. So one of the things that I discovered after going through my journey is the intention element. And it's basically, I put together the 4 key points that I believe are necessary to live the best life that you want. And one of them is understanding the difference between emotions and feelings. And it's a little bit of a tricky subject because there's no dramatic thing. There's like, emotions is this and feelings is this, and this is how you're going to be able to recognize. It's a very subtle thing, but it makes all the difference. And first of all, emotions are physical. They're physical sensations that happen in our body, and emotions are there to protect us from the immediate threat. So for example, if we didn't have any emotions, we would walk into the room with a lion like it's no big deal. We wouldn't even think about the threat that it poses for us. We wouldn't even think about being, eaten alive. So that's what emotions are there for. They protect us, and it's kind of like our instinct in a way. They protect us from the threat, and they protect us from the outside environment. And feelings happen after emotions. So first emotions, and then our brain kicks in and it starts explaining like, oh, I see a lion, that means that I'm afraid. So when that happens, our feelings kick in and we start feeling, we start being afraid, we start being scared and shaking is a physical thing. So emotions are physical and feelings are happening in your mind. And here's why it's important. Emotions happen, a lot of emotions that we have are there from the time that we were born. So most of us, and me includingly, I was running kind of like on an old software. It's like iOS 0.5, 5.0, when in reality there was like iOS 10.0. So I was running on the old software, trying to create this world and this life for me when I had all these things coming up. Like, for example, photography. I love photography. It was this thing that I was waking up thinking about it, I would go to bed thinking about it, and that was the only thing that I wanted to do in my life, just take pictures and go travel the world. And when I was in one of the relationships, the person I was with, he told me that photography is a waste of time. Photography is not gonna get me anywhere, and I'm just gonna blow up my money and not do anything in my life, not achieve anything. So every time I would pick up my camera, I would see his look that I was pretty much wasting my time, and this like condescending look that I wasn't doing anything productive. So with time, I started to associate photography with something bad. So every time I would hold the camera, I had this physical thing in my body, like, I would just get stiff because I didn't feel good. And when I would get stiff, I would start blaming myself for wasting time and not doing, anything that I was supposed to be doing. And after that relationship was over and I wanted to pick up photography again, every time I would pick up that camera, I still had that sensation in my body that wouldn't make me feel good about taking pictures. So I haven't taken pictures after that relationship for years because I was running on the old software that wasn't allowing me to create what I really wanted, which was taking pictures and really fulfilling my dream. So when we are trying to create the new life, it's really important to pay attention to what is going on. Like, have you ever, like, maybe you were having a conversation, or maybe you saw something, and then you reacted in a way that made you later look at that and be like, wow, that's not really me. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? That means that something that that person said or something that you saw triggered something in you that was there from a long time before. Maybe when you were a child, someone said the same thing and you felt bad for it, or maybe your parents said something, and that is in our subconscious and it's still there. So when someone says something and it makes us upset, they trigger all those emotions that come to the surface. And there's really no way, like there's really no this huge sensation that happens, because the thing is, emotions happen within seconds. It happens and then we start feeling, and it all this like few second experience that makes us do sometimes crazy things. So what I would suggest is that when something like that happens and something triggers the emotion that you didn't really think was you, go back and really think about, well, why did I do that? Was there something that could trigger the old patterns or the old hurts that were there before? And really think about that and see how you can change that. Because the truth is, if you wanted to change your life, you have to start thinking. You have to consciously create your life. That means that you have to consciously think about what is it that you are creating, what is it that you're doing, what is it that you're saying, what is it that you're thinking, and direct that into a positive in a positive way in your life. So I don't know, I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have more questions, because feelings and emotions, I'm writing a guide about it right now, and it's like 10 pages, and I'm still trying to figure out what would be the easier way to explain it. But I hope this makes sense, and I hope you can start paying attention to your reactions and the things that you're thinking in your head and redirecting your pattern and rewriting your software to, I don't know, what iOS 12, what is it now? The new you, the software of the new you, so you can live the best life and you can start implementing the things that we are teaching. Because one of the things here is, yes, we can give you all the training, we can give you all the tools, we can give you everything laid out, but at the end of the day, if you're not gonna take action and if you're not gonna willingly commit to it, then you know, it doesn't matter what we're gonna tell you, it's just not going to happen. So I think that's all I got. I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. Golf clap, golf clap. So what I'm going to do now is get into the last part here of what happened to you, and this is the actual technique that you can use to make sure that you get into this state and you recognize your feelings and emotions and the difference, and you can start to clarify what's going on in your brain so that you can actually start moving forward with this stuff, okay? And start creating and attracting to you what it is you want. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna rewrite your story. So I want you to think about one of the biggest disappointments that you may say is the reason that is responsible for why you're here right now, in terms of, you know, the pain or the frustration or the struggle that you would say is the main reason why you're at where you're at in your life. Everybody has them, okay? And just be easy on yourself, but look at what happened to you. All of us have a story. One for me, I'll tell you one for me right now, is one that I've had to work through recently. Is, you know, I had a lot of things happen from friends who I trusted, who I thought I could trust, that left and started to say a lot of bad things about me because they wanted to be competitive, right? They were in that competitive mind state. And it hurt my feelings a lot. I had a hard time getting over it. I don't know if I really fully did. And then from there, I had a whole other level to it as I became a CEO, or was on the CEO path for a company, that then there was a lot of corporate politics and power struggles, and people essentially decided to force me out and make it seem like I was the bad guy. And I held a lot of anger and resentment for that, because they did that to me, right? And because of that, I had this story in my mind of, you know, these things happened to me, which is why I had to kind of like start over again, right? Which I knew how to, so it wasn't an issue, other than my anger and resentment and hurt of having to start over again. And so that's my story, is like, this stuff happened to me, right? Well, that's not too empowering for my brain to be able to start creating new stuff. So here's what we do. We become aware of it. And the first step is to authenticate the truth, which, what I mean by authenticating the truth is, okay, take what happened to you, let's redo it, authenticate the truth, it happened, okay? So whatever happened, it happened, okay? And the difference is, you chose how to react. Let's put the responsibility, and this is the tough part, is I have to look at the fact that I chose to react to those situations as a victim and said, oh, this puts me in a tough spot. Now I have to do these different things because I am now frustrated and angry and upset, and I don't feel inspired to continue to create new cool stuff and create stuff and attract stuff to me, because I chose to react in a negative way. And I'm owning this right now, right? So state how you chose to react. I reacted negatively and I let it get me down. I literally gave that thing that happened permission to get me down. That's okay. It's okay to accept that. It's okay to admit that. And I'm okay with admitting it to myself for that, right? So perfect way to start. I let others get me down, and I didn't stand up for myself how I should have. I drew the line, but then I also didn't let it go, right? And I can state that and be okay with it. So now, what are you now doing differently that is currently bringing the change? And we're going to state it, positively stated, and in present tense. So what am I doing now? Every day I wake up and I'm starting to feel more and more grateful for the things that I do have, the things that I did not actually lose. That's not too positively stated, so let me try this again. I wake up every day being grateful for what I have, and realizing that because I chose how to react in a negative way, it was great contrast for me to realize and understand the depths of what I'm capable of going to almost destroy myself when I'm hung up in anger and fear and resentment, right? And so now I'm choosing to be grateful for everything I have now and taking what I did learn and applying it to recreating so much more of what I was before, of what I knew I was always capable of, and taking it to even deeper levels and new heights. Now, creating a whole other type of life now that I have these experiences of learning how to trust certain people and seeing the warning signs and seeing the signs that help me steer my path. And so for me, that's happening every day for me as I get to look around and have the wisdom to move in the directions that I want to and have what comes to me be naturally attracted as a result of my state of mind. So very wordy, but I could talk that out and then eventually write that out. So here's your next step. As you think about that and you start to authenticate what happened, you know, acknowledge how you chose to react, acknowledge that now you're choosing differently and you're choosing to take control of, instead of reacting, but being proactive about it and what it's bringing about, and it's happening now. So then, now this is the part where it's not fancy, it's not glamorous, but it's the part that matters, and the people who really are happy about creating what they want in their life and can do it at will are the ones that get this part right here. So let's systematize it, which is the same thing we do with the online stuff, right? Pull out your smartphone, type out your story in your notes, or whatever, open up Evernote, whatever app you have, email, whatever it is, and you're gonna type it out, okay? And right now, you may just make some bullet point notes on the situation, how I chose to react, what I'm choosing now, and why it's working, okay? Positively stated in the present tense. And then you're gonna turn on that voice recorder app, which every smartphone has, and you're gonna speak it. You're gonna record it. So what I used to do every day, right? I recorded my intention every morning and I listened to it every morning. Now, set a reminder, once you've actually recorded this voice recorder and you have that new story for yourself that you're now telling yourself every day and rewiring your brain to stay in a co-creative state, you're gonna set a reminder 3 times a day to listen to it until you can speak it from memory. Yep, I got to that point too, and I still have things I can speak from memory right now every day when I start, just on demand. And I've rewired my brain to be able to run those patterns in the morning to get me going. It was difficult at first, and of course sometimes I missed it, but I stayed at it. Then say it aloud from memory 3 times a day until you have co-created it. There's nothing mystical here, but that is literally what I had to do to reshape my thoughts. And this is what you need to do, systematizing it. So that's what it really comes down to. It can be that simple if you let it. And I'd love to hear any of your comments or feedback or thoughts in the chat, and we'll address some of those. If you have any questions about it later, we can clarify some of that at the end. So let's shift now and let's go into what this whole online sales funnel process is, right? A lot of you may be like, you know, where's the sales funnel? If you have experience with understanding the concepts of online marketing, put it in the chat now and say either I'm a total newbie, have no idea how it works, or I have an understanding of how the main concept works, but I may not have been able to put it all together, or I haven't tried to do it yet, but I kind of get it. Or 3, I've implemented stuff, I've done stuff, I've learned it, but I'm not seeing any kind of results, and I'm not sure what it is that's causing the disconnect. So just let us know, and we'll talk about some of that. But let's move on, because there is a little bit of a delay. And let me just ask you, have you ever been through a sales funnel? Which you have if you're here. Okay, all right. The typical online sales process is something like this. You see something on Facebook. How many of you are here as a result of Facebook today? Okay. Or you see something somewhere online and you click on it. You find yourself at an enter your email page. Real simple. You enter your email and then you're taken to normally a video, or it's a long page of a sales letter to read. And whether you buy or not, which some of the times you may, you get an email. You get an email from them because you opted in. And guess what? You continue to get emails from the good marketers, right? And you either continue to get emails from them until you buy something or you unsubscribe. And that is the basic general process. So what I'm going to do is draw out for you exactly what you can do, because you're probably thinking, well, I don't want to be that annoying person. Well, guess what? It works. And a lot of people like to hear from me in their inbox when I'm sending them emails because I'm giving real value. Okay? And so you can set this up any way you want to, but we're going to show you the framework for this. Okay? So I'm going to do a quick adjustment. I'm going to bring out the whiteboard here and pull over a chair and sit down. I'm actually going to draw this out on this thing. I'm going to readjust this in just a little bit. So see here. Probably a little bit more. All right. What's that? It's right there. You see what? Yeah. That's awesome. Yes. All right. First time using this whiteboard. It's quite long rather than cross. Funny thing is, you guys may not know this, we're actually at the public library right now. And that is because up here in Alaska, where we're at, the internet connection is kind of shoddy, so we actually take off and go different places, coffee shops, and other places, including the library, when we want to work in some quiet. And that's where we get our work done. So don't even have an office, right? And so we just rented a room here at the library, and so this is their whiteboard, which clearly they're not marketers. Because they'd have it a lot more longer than this little thing. So I think this is funny, but you know, it'll work. So here's the basic process. You have obviously an ad you click on at some point somewhere, whether it's on Facebook or something. You've got, you know, let's just call it Facebook because that's where some of the best marketing is done. And you've got, you know, your picture and your deal and your headline, and then some copy. You got a text, picture of you, and you know, call to action, and that's the ad. Shows up in your news feed. You're scrolling, you see it. All right, I click on it. Takes you over to a page that, you see that all right? Move this forward a little bit for you. Takes you over to a page that normally either has, you know, promise, an offer, something with a button. You press it, and this little screen pops up to enter your name and email. And so we'll call this the ad, call this the opt-in page, right? Opt-in. And from there, you enter your email, and then it takes you to an offer. Now, what's your role in all of this? What do you need to make all of this work, right? So it goes to an offer. So it's probably going to go to a video, sales video, and that opt-in goes on a list, which is a service or a piece of software you can pay for that collects these emails and can send out emails whenever you want, and you can schedule them as well and write them beforehand, so it's automated, right? So this is called your autoresponder. And if this is too simple for all of you, just let me know and I can speed it up. But I just wanted to cover the basics real quick for you, because you've got, you know, your ad, you opt in, you go on a list, you watch a sales video, and then you probably get an email that, you know, you open up your inbox, and so let's say this is your email. You know, you open up Gmail over here because most people have Gmail, and you open it up, and you got your email there. You click on it, it takes you over to that again, or it takes you to another video because you didn't buy from watching this one, and so maybe it's another second look, or more content, more value, more training, depending on what the product is or what's being sold. And so essentially this autoresponder will continue to send emails to you with different offers or one offer until you buy or unsubscribe. That's essentially the concept. So for you, the skill sets that you need in order to do this and to start, very simply, we won't go for this too long because I know some of you probably have gotten this and you're like, yeah, I get this, right? Is the skill for you is you don't want to start with having to learn how to sell and have your own offer put together and create your own product at first. Some of you will get there, and some of you, we can help you with that when you want to do that. Some of you may be ready to do that now, but for most people, they want to start selling something else and learning the process and not wasting so much time on literally creating something, but being able to just get all the marketing in place so that they can plug in their stuff when they do create it, okay? So your skill sets come in placing ads, right? So it's traffic. Traffic and generating leads, which means having software that helps you create an opt-in page. And we can point you in the right direction for that. Generating leads. And then, I apologize for my handwriting, it's about kindergarten level. And then following up. Follow-up, which is sending emails. There's nothing technical about it, but it just requires learning how it's done and learning the right messaging, okay? And so it's these three things: driving traffic, placing ads. So these are ads. Generating leads is, that's 1. Traffic is 1. This is 2. Generating leads, that's the opt-in page. And then the autoresponder, because you can send them to another offer that's coded to you. You don't have to create all of that right now. You can later. But the follow-up is 3, autoresponder, right? So that's autoresponder here. So that's a simple process. It's place an ad, click on it, collect the email, send them to an offer, follow up with them, send them more, back to that or other offers as well. And that's essentially the main concept. Now that's building. That's the first phase of your business, which is building, okay? Now you're building your basic funnel. Now when you create your own product, obviously you're going to be able to use the same softwares to create your own sales page. You're going to learn how to do sales videos. You're going to learn the strategy and the messaging strategies behind it. But it's a more advanced strategy, which takes more normally to do, because when you start out and you're selling something else, the people that you're selling for, they have the sales messaging already put in place. They're the advanced ones that have the sales message, the product delivery, and all you have to really do is get people to that offer. So it's really you getting people to the offer that really matters. And so the skill set is in generating leads, getting ads, people to click on those ads, going to opt-in, going to that offer, and then emailing them to go back to that offer again and again. So that's building. And oftentimes, 97% of people don't even get to that point right there. They don't build their funnel where they build a capture page and get their autoresponders and everything set up. I'd say maybe not 97, but 9 out of 10. Realistically, from what I've seen, it's gotten a little better, but 9 out of 10 people still don't set up everything. And that's like, so if you're willing to do that, you're beyond 90% of the people who come into this industry to create an income. And so you just got to stick with that and finish it. Now, the next part of this really is the optimize. And we're not going to talk too much about that, but this is how you learn how to double your leads or double your income. And it comes down to a simple process of, now that you've placed one ad, obviously all you do is, split testing, which is, go place another ad that has, similar stuff going on with it, but it says something different or it has a different picture. It's going to the same offer, but now you're split testing one ad and you got another ad running to see which one does better. And so you may have, twice as many people clicking on this one. For every 100 people that it's shown to, you got 6 people clicking on this one and 9 people clicking on this one. Well, you're probably going to want to use this one or both if you have the budget, right? Simple enough. And then the next part is opt-in. We'll call this the capture rate, the opt-in rate, right? So you're sending people to this page, and it comes down to, if you have 2 out of 10 people that look at that and choose to enter their email address, enter their details, right? And that's obviously a 20% opt-in rate. Well, if you were able to change the copy a little bit and make your offer a little more clear or a little more appealing, if you were able to get 4 out of 10 people to opt into that, which is really good, actually, as just a general rule, 40% is amazing, right? We've got some pages with specialty story funnels that have gone as high as 70% recently. We'll teach you that stuff later at another time. But you know, if you can get 4 out of 10, that means you now have 40% opt-in rate, and that means for every 100 people that came through, instead of getting 20 leads, you're getting 40, which means that's twice as many people seeing the offer here, and that means twice as much money. Because if you only have 3 out of 100 people right here buying, but all of a sudden you get 200 people to the page, then that's 6 people, because that's 3 times 2, right? So just by tweaking your copy, you're not spending any more money. So that's a way that you can literally just optimize. And that whole process happens with the subject headlines in your emails as well, where you're optimizing. So the second phase of all of this is optimizing, where you're sending traffic through these funnels, and now you're testing different headlines, testing different images, testing different subject lines, depending on the ad or the opt-in or the autoresponder or a combination of all of them, and doing different combinations, seeing what works the best. Now this is the big thing that a lot of people get hung up on. I've seen this happen all the time. And that is, people get fixated on wanting to do it one way. They get fixated on a particular offer and the way it's supposed to be done. They get fixated on a particular headline and wanting to really make that headline work. And however, I can admire somebody's persistence and sheer will in doing that. That's not how we operate as marketers. Because in the optimize phase, you need to not be attached to the things you are optimizing, because you're going to need to let them go in favor of a better version of it that may convert better. And so you've got to be open to trying a lot of different things and just seeing what works. And it's one of the biggest things that we constantly have to remind people about, because they get so worked up into fixated on making it work a certain way. And so that's just a nugget. As you get there, you'll see what I'm talking about, where you may have trouble really increasing your opt-in rates on your capture page. And you're like, oh, I remember what Chris said about don't be attached to saying it that way. Maybe try a completely different headline with a different offer or a different angle of how you lead them in, with a different expectation, and it works better. But if you were so fixated on trying to make that one angle work, you may have never discovered that other one, okay? So obviously the first phase of all this is, and these are the 3 phases of your online business, right? Is build, and that was building the funnel itself. Next one is optimize. And the third one is scale. We'll get to that one in a minute. But I want to get back to something here for a moment, something to think about. And that's this. You'll notice that 10 to 15% of the people that buy your product or buy whatever offer is right here, 10 to 15% of them are going to buy on the first time they see the offer, okay? But the other 85 to 90% need more than one exposure to the offer, which is why we email people the offer and different pieces of content related to the offer, okay? Whether it be a blog post or another video or training or demonstration of value or a testimonial or something, piece of content, because people need multiple touch points, and they need, on average, about 7 exposures to something before they make a buying decision. So what happens is out of the, let's say you show 100 people that offer, 3 of them buy right away, 3%, which is a great number. But let's say that's only 15% of, let's just round it off and say 20. Let's say that's 20% of the people that ever buy. It's even better than before. 20%, that's 1 out of 5. So it means there's 4 out of 5 haven't bought yet. But if you give up right there and like, oh, they're not going to buy, because you assume everyone watches the whole video and is completely like jacked in and paying attention, where they don't have things distracting them around them, or they may be driving, watching that thing on their phone, as crazy as some people are, and so not having all these distractions in the way, that happens, right? So what you want to do is make sure emailing, that'll get you that other 85 to 90%, because you'd be losing those other buyers if you don't email them. That's how important it is. So can you go and make sure that there's no one else wanting to put this in here? And so that's really where the optimizing comes into place, because then you'll know your numbers and you'll know them well, right? And so now that you get the concept, I'm gonna double check the comments real quick and make sure. All right, cool. So the last part is scale. Now we're gonna save a lot of that for another time, but we'll briefly graze over it, because essentially scaling is once you have some hard numbers. So let's say you have a good click-through rate on your ad, right? And you've got a good opt-in rate, OR, on your opt-in page, or your capture page. And you have a good open rate, people opening your emails, and it's all systematized. And all you're doing is making sure your ads are being placed and paying money for them, right? That's a working funnel. You've built it, okay? And then you started to optimize it, and you probably never really you can never stop optimizing if you don't want to. Some people stop optimizing when they get to a really good number, and they're like, okay, this works for me. I like my numbers. I like my return on investment. Awesome. But when you get to that point, then a lot of people are like, well, how do I scale it? Well, some people think it's just about, spend twice as much money and you'll make, twice as much. And in theory, that sounds great. And that is the concept. However, the real deal is that you may not necessarily be able to right away just double the amount of ad spend that you're spending on whatever platform you're placing your ads on. Maybe Facebook, LinkedIn, CPA networks, whatever the case may be. And you need to be able to scale that up over time. So what that means is scaling is not simply a 1 + 1 = 2, and I made this much money, so let me double my ad spend and I'm gonna make this much money next month. It takes a process of scaling that. And there's a way to do that that we'll cover in a later training as well. And you'll see some of that also in some of the subsequent training that we'll give you, okay? So ultimately, build, optimize, and scale. Those are the 3 phases of online business, of your online career. And that's all you do. Now, I'll tell you what gets good is when I had all this built out and optimized, and I was just working an hour a day, just maintenance, just kind of checking everything out, sending off another email because I was inspired, creating a new piece of content, shooting a video because I was feeling good and I was enjoying life. And so when that happens, the content creation happens automatically. And I was blogging a lot and creating videos and putting them on YouTube. So that's the cool thing, is learning how to actually market on these social platforms is where the real trick comes in, because a lot of people don't know how to do that. And a lot of people don't talk too much about that, on how to advertise on Facebook, how to do YouTube ads, how to do LinkedIn ads, how to be able to place ads in networks and stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that when you learn marketing messaging, which we'll talk about, that's when things get good, okay? So 3 phases of online career: build, optimize, scale. And we'll see if anyone has any questions about that, put them in the comments now. If not, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. And to the last part. So far, we have done the 3 phases of your online career, which is build, optimize, and scale, right? With my 4-year-old handwriting. And then we've got how the online sales funnel works, okay? We've gone through the proven authentic pattern, which helped you shift your mind. And then now, it's the step-by-step stuff. Well, we showed you step-by-step essentially how this whole process works, but there's another step-by-step, which is actually getting set up. But the other thing is, before we can actually do that, we need to know what it is you want to do. And we mean that by, some of you are going to want to start and say, look, I need something to sell, just tell me what I should and what's working, and I'll plug into it and start building my stuff, building my funnel, give me the tools that I need. Awesome, okay, we've got a resource for you. Some of you are like, I want to create my own product. I have an expertise in something specific. I want to know how to create that. I want to know how to market that and sell that. We have a solution for you as well, okay? And so all of you are in a different place, but we can't exactly teach you the step-by-step right here, right now, because we're not knowing exactly what you're going to be selling. So what we were doing is, you'll notice that on our page, we promised access to a step-by-step process. So I'm actually going to give you one, okay? As a part of this whole offering, we're going to give you something that's actually worth quite a bit. It will give you a full step-by-step setup process, okay? So I'm going to move back over to the slides and actually show you what we've got for you, because this concludes the training part of what we're going to show you. And if you guys still want to know more, let's continue, okay? So I'm going to move back up to here. Well, that was fun. Why is that doing that? Why is it not doing that one? That's weird. Wow, okay. That's interesting.
Can you stop sharing your screen?
I can share my screen, yes.
Can you stop sharing? Are you sharing your screen? You're not sharing your screen. Stop sharing and stop sharing the slides.
I never was sharing the slides. I just pulled the slides up and they showed up on here.
But you're sharing your screen right now, that's why you can't pull up the slides.
I'm not sharing my screen.
Oh.
See what I mean? But it's not pulling up. That is an interesting phenomenon going on right now. Now you see what I'm talking about? Slides aren't coming up. You gotta love that.
Can you share the slides?
Yeah. If it will actually. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen on this. Now it won't. Yes. Interesting how this is like.
We can see the slides now.
Yeah, but it's so small.
We can see them better than before.
Yeah, it won't really let me. One second, everybody. Doesn't make any sense. Okay, actually, I think I know what I need to do. Simple. Okay, guys, apologies about this. And first trial run on this stuff. Doing this in the library here. So here we go. All right. Turn it on. Turn it in, fast and turned on. And okay. I think what I would like to do is share anyway. Probably like, what in the heck and why?
Share the screen.
Yeah. So now I'm going to share my slides because you guys can see them better. Okay. All right. Oh, that's interesting. Never mind. I just can't even. Okay. So it's real simple. Sorry about that. Would you agree that having a mentor combined with a step-by-step process and click-by-click tutorials would help you get started? The answer is yes. Then meet our strategic partners, Kayala and Cameron. And Kayala and Cameron are some of my buddies that I came up with in the industry with. Both of them have earned 7 figures now combined. Cameron earned 7 figures before he was 25 in the industry, and retired at 24, knowing this stuff. And his partner Kayala has been a trainer at some of my events. He's a good buddy of mine. Learned a lot from him. He's learned a lot from me. We really came up together in the same circles, and I trust these guys. And so the big thing for us is that in order for us to live our laptop lifestyle and be able to travel the way we do, I needed to be able to partner with somebody who is building all of these systems and has a bunch of stuff to sell and serve and train and teach and have all of that going on. And so I decided, we're literally just spent the last, through 2.5, 3 months in Vegas, living with them in a huge mansion that they rented as they're setting up their huge office and really building out all their infrastructure. These guys have put together a company called AWOL Academy, and AWOL stands for Another Way of Life. I love it. I love the vision, and you'll see some cool stuff about what it's really about in some emails we're going to send to you after this presentation, after this webinar. And wanted to introduce you to these two because they're the ones that actually have a lot of training that will be able to plug you right in and get started with a lot of this, okay? And also, we've had on this call one of our head coaches, okay? Her name's Lena, and let me introduce you to her. She's our head coach. She helps work with all of our members and make sure that they get what they need, and she's got a direct quote that we love that she said before: the guys at AWOL have really raised the standard of the industry by taking the time to get to know every client and their individual needs. I love speaking to our customers and figuring out exactly how we can serve them and accomplishing their unique goals. And she's the head coach, the coach of coaches over there at AWOL. And so we work closely with her, we talk with her and communicate with her on a daily basis to make sure our members and the people we send over there are taken care of. And so she's on the webinar, on the workshop tonight, making sure and seeing how things are going and how things are presented for you. And she's going to be talking to you guys if you choose to move in the direction we're going here tonight with the offer we have. So like we said before, it'd be great to have coaching, mentoring, the right process, step-by-step stuff in place for you that's systematized, right? Well, here is what we have to offer you. Here's what you get. As a part of AWOL 101, okay, they call it AWOL 101, you get 4 modules, and it's coaching, step-by-step coaching. It's a deep dive questionnaire, which is much deeper than the questions I had you ask yourself today, which help really bring out what the real essence is of your business and what you're suited for. And then a business planning session you're gonna have with Lena, or you're gonna have a business planning session in module 3 to go through, and then you're gonna have a one-on-one coaching call with Lena, 30 to 45 minutes. Normally just these by themselves, a la carte, are all about 97 bucks they sell for. And the total value, obviously, 291 bucks for this, but we're gonna do you guys even better today. And so, but first, let me give you a few bonuses, because you guys wanted the step-by-step stuff. You're getting some of that in the coaching, but you also get this in the different modules in AWOL's Introductory Pro Academy. Pro Academy is the step-by-step, click-by-click, literally look over their shoulders how to set up your own sales funnel with software that's not difficult, not required any tech savvy or HTML code or any knowledge like that. Any new person can do it by filling in blanks. And there's a couple modules to it. One is, how to get your domains, your hosting, addresses, WordPress, all of that stuff that you would think is difficult, which really is not. And then module 2 is how to build it. It's a 15 video series, how to integrate, lead pages, get response, how to integrate tracking. Okay, the stuff that, as a marketer, to be able to optimize, you need tracking, different ways to do that. It walks you through literally the click by click. So you're not left to go, oh, get this set up, just figure it out. No, they're right there showing you every step of the way, explaining every click to you. Then it's how to find traffic, how to get traffic and find offers. It's a 1-hour training, how to find high converting offers out there that you can start with even without having anything for yourself right now or anything of your own to sell, and where to get buyer traffic quick, just right away if you need to, and get you set up and rolling right away. Module 4 is Pro Tips, which is their 4 video series, how to increase your email return on investment, how to make money from non-buyers, a cool trick we show you there, and then how to do the perfect marketing budget, which is really the scaling training that you were looking for, okay? That really takes you to the next level. There's no point in doing it right now because you won't understand it until you build this stuff. Then you'll understand how to scale it, okay? So here's what you get with us. And I got a special bonus on top of this. AWOL 101, the coaching, the deep dive questionnaire, the business planning session, the one-on-one coaching call, okay, all of that, holding your hand through this. You get Pro Academy, all those modules, getting started, how to build it, getting traffic, and pro tips. All of that together is a total value of $388, but the offer for you guys today is $99, only $99. And I will do you even one better. For those of you here on this webinar, here's what we're going to do for you. It's this simple. Because we like to reach out and take care of our members as well, we will coordinate and make sure that once you get through your one-on-one coaching call with Lena, we're going to get on and do a 45-minute to hour-long session as well with you to make sure we can't fill in any gaps or make sure that you have what you need and a good strategic plan moving forward so that you can really do this and take this to the level that you want to and create what you want to. So that's a special bonus that you only get through buying AWOL 101 through us, is that special bonus of an extra coaching call with Irina and I, and you'll be able to go through, hey, now I've learned this, now I've gone through Pro Academy, now I know what I'm getting, now I know what I'm setting up, but now I really need the strategy. Now I need to know how to craft my messaging. Now I need to know what to do next. How do I keep rolling? I want some ongoing support. You may want to schedule that call, a week later after, or a couple of days after you do your call with Lena, where you have a chance to implement some of this stuff. But that's something that we give you as a special extra unannounced bonus. It's nowhere on these slides. You get an extra coaching call with Irina and I if you pick up AWOL 101. So all you have to do is Lena will let us know when you get through the coaching and through the business planning session and the questionnaire and the one-on-one coaching call. And then we will schedule a call with you as well. So it's that simple, and this is really what it comes down to, guys. You have a choice, and if you're here on this webinar, if you're here on this workshop tonight, I'm pretty sure you've gotten some value, because anytime we teach this stuff, people are blown away, especially with the authentication process and understanding the 3 awareness types. And if you know that, and you know that you can now move forward, wouldn't it be a good time to just grab the bull by the horns and just go with it now that you know you're equipped? Get the tools and get what you need, and click that button below to be taken to this page. And remember, and if you can't see that button below, all you have to do is refresh the screen and it will be there. But here's the thing. Some of you are like, well, I don't know if I trust all this. It's this simple. You see that yellow arrow? 100% money back guarantee. If you go through the process and you decide that for any reason that you don't like it, it's not for you, or this is not your process, we're not attached to you signing up and being here. We want you to be here if you want to be here. And there's going to be some people that this may not be a fit for, okay? And that's totally cool. So we'll give you your money back and you can go along your way. No problems, no issues, no fuss, no hassle, no questions asked, and you can get your money back. But if you don't take the chance and jump in now and place your order and get in this stuff, you won't ever know what it's like to be able to do this unless you go and try to find it elsewhere. And I can tell you there's a lot out there, and you may get stuck in analysis paralysis, looking around for stuff that may not necessarily come the way this came to you. Because like I said, if you're on this particular webinar, then there's a reason for that. We specifically, Irina and I, set an intention for the type and the awareness and the people in the present situations that are on this webinar. That was our intention, to have these people here. So if you're here, then that means you're the type of person we're looking for. Very specific type of person. And so I'm willing to bet that that means that's you, and that this is something that's going to work for you if you work it. This is going to be something that works for you if you choose to run with it, if you choose to pick it up and go through it and implement the stuff and do the step by step. The chance and opportunity is in front of you, and it's really yours to grab, and it's up to you. So either way, give us a shout out in the comments. Let us know if you liked and enjoyed the training. This concludes the workshop, and let us know if you're going to take advantage of the AWOL special $99 coaching and take advantage of your special session with us as well once you get through the process. And we will see you guys next time. Be on the lookout for an email. We're going to show you some cool videos of what AWOL is all about. We're going to send you those, and some other cool free training as well that you'll get if you keep opening your emails. So once again, it really comes down to this. Here's why I'm doing this. I realized a couple years ago, before I really created a lot of success, that I had a purpose and I had a mission. And one day I woke up, I walked over to my whiteboard, and I wrote on the whiteboard something specific, and it was 3 things. It was 1, my purpose, 1, to set people free in their minds. And number 2, remind them of who they really are. And number 3, inspire them to be the change they wish to see in the world. And I've held to that. Whenever I haven't, whenever I've forgotten about those are the main reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, I haven't seen it bear a lot of fruit. But this is in alignment with that purpose. And so if you're here, there's a reason for it. And I would say that you're part of this purpose. So allow us to serve you. And that's really what it's about, because you'll find that the most amazing times in your life is when you start to lock arms with others and learn this and start to change your career, change everything about your life. Because if you don't take this today, then you'll probably wake up tomorrow and you'll probably be in the same spot you were yesterday or before you saw this ad and actually had some hope that said, tomorrow's going to be the same. And I'm not doing anything about it. And as you can see, I don't hide behind a camera or I hide behind slides the whole time. I'm sitting right here directly looking at the camera, talking to you. I have nothing to hide because this is all right out here in the open. Look at how much free training we gave you tonight. If you like this, then you won't believe what's on the inside. So click that button below. If the button's not there, simply refresh your screen. The button will show up. Take advantage of it. Get AWOL 101, and be on the lookout for a few more emails from us. And it'll be some cool training, some cool videos to watch. And we look forward to being in touch with you and serving you even more. So that's it. Got anything else?
No, take action. Nothing will happen if you guys don't take action.
Simple enough. All right, everyone. Good night.